Welcome back to the studio. We are in studio this week, and if you can see from maybe the activity here that we are in full-on production mode now with the School of Sweet Georgia. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the knitting course that we are filming right here. Hi, I'm Felicia from Sweet Georgia, and welcome back to Taking Back Friday. Welcome back to the Sweet Georgia channel. We come here and we talk about the fiber arts every Friday. We talk about this every week, about things that we're making, things that we're doing, things that we're thinking about related to making. So this week we started our first filming sessions for 2022 for the School of Sweet Georgia. We film a lot of classes every year. Last year we made 24 courses, and the year before that we made 15. And so each one of these courses takes anywhere from 1 to 4 shooting days, and we aim to do 2 releases or 2 course launches every month. And so I know that it seems like quite an intense schedule. It's quite a lot of filming, it's quite a lot of courses, but all of the feedback that we've ever gotten from our members at the School of Sweet Georgia has been that there's an insatiable appetite for more knowledge. And so we are doing our best to create the content as quickly as possible. I think very specifically, the request is for knowledge that is a little bit more niche, a little bit more in-depth, really going up close, seeing the nitty-gritty about how things happen. So here in this room this week, we are filming with Vancouver knitwear designer Holly Yo, and she is teaching us all about knitting, all about the nitty-gritty parts of knitting. Like we've just done 1 day of shooting so far, and she showed us probably about half a dozen ways of casting on and why you would use different cast-ons, why you would choose to use 2 needles or how you use 2 needles to do a cast on, like all sorts of different aspects of casting on. And then she's also teaching us about finishing, like what do you do to block your garments really well and properly. A lot of the things that I want Holly to share with everyone is about how she makes such professional looking garments. That is sort of the crux of all of this. It's so that way when you create a knitting garment or a knitting project, that what you create at the end of the day is well done, well executed, and professionally finished, and it's just tidy. And Holly and I actually met years and years ago, and we used to go for lunch at this place called The Foundation on Main Street. And we used to go like every month or so, every couple months, we would go and have lunch there. And they had the most amazing nachos. If anybody has ever had Foundation nachos, they were so good. And sadly, Foundation is no longer there anymore. But since that time, Holly and I have actually continued to collaborate on projects since that time. We actually worked on quite a big project a number of years ago. So about 7 or 8 years ago, we collaborated to publish a book of knitwear designs called Tempest. Ta-da! So this is a collection of Holly's designs that used Sweet Georgia Yarns, and we legit published our own book. Like, it even has its own ISBN number. And I did the graphic design for the book and all of the interior book pages. And now looking back at this, I'm just like, I don't know how I did it, but I worked through this entire process of making this book with Holly while I had a newborn. Russell, my son, was about 10 months old, I think, when we launched the book. And when we did launch the book, we threw a big party at the Vancouver Club, and knitters got dressed up, they wore high heels, some even rented a limo to get to this party. It was spectacular. It was a super, super fun evening. I remember being really proud that I could fit into my dress. It was a really great time. You may recognize someone in this book. This model, and the model who modeled about half of the garments in this book, is Greta, who is now our education program coordinator for the School of Sweet Georgia. So when we took these photos for Tempest, I was meeting Greta for the very first time. And since then, we've actually worked together again many times. She modeled for my Dying to Spin and Knit book. She's modeled for several of our knitwear design collections for Sweet Georgia. And now she's fully joined our Sweet Georgia team, and we work together every day now. You just never know where life will lead you and what will happen with the people that you happen to meet. When we created the book of patterns for Tempest, Holly and I were very ambitious. We made a website for it. We also filmed and produced about 10 or a dozen tutorial videos for these. And making these knitting tutorial videos was sort of planting the seeds of what has eventually become the school. And I remember distinctly filming at my dining room table with one top-down camera and one microphone. I think I put my iMac computer on the dining table because I thought that I could somehow connect the camera to the computer and have the video footage go directly into the computer. But the hum and the sound of the computer on the table was interfering with the sound and the microphone. And it was such a learning process. We learned everything at that time. But I learned what an exacting and intense process all of that was. But I loved it, and I loved being able to show people that really close up and how-tos of how everything works. As well, in order to knit all of the samples that are in this Tempest book, we assembled a team of local sample knitters in Vancouver, and then we held an in-studio workshop where Holly taught all of the techniques for finishing the garments in order to get the most professional final product. And so for years, I've been thinking about how we could bring Holly's skill and her expertise in these fine knitting techniques to more knitters. And so, all these years later, the three of us, Greta, Holly, and myself, were collaborating again in this new and very different way. Greta works with all of the SOS instructors. She helps to break down their course content into really digestible modules, and she figures out what we need to film in what order and how long each lesson needs to be. She even schedules when the setup is, when the teardown is, when we have lunch, like everything. And now Kathy from SweetGeorgia is also helping to operate Camera B now, and she figures out how to shoot the top-down videos and how the side cameras work, and she's going to be helping to edit videos as well in the future. So there's no way to know what is going to come of all of this and how all of our projects and our paths in the future might cross again. So I was saying that I was spending a lot of time at home and sort of like cocooned in my house. But coming here feels so good. Like this room is it's full of possibilities and it's full of potential, and it feels really good to be here right now, surrounded by yarns, surrounded by knitting, surrounded by my looms. It feels like a good place right now. So Holly's knitting class is going to be called Fundamentals to Finishing, and it's going to be launching in April. And of course, also we have a Design Your Own Triangular Shawl class that's coming up with Tabitha, and I believe that's coming out in March. And also in March, we're going to be doing a study group about knitting lace. So if you've never knit lace before, this is the time to start. You can work through the first couple of weeks of learning how lace stitches work, making some swatches, making some samples. And then from there, if you would like to, you could move on to the second part of that study group, which is taking those lace structures and then putting them into something like a triangular shawl. So you could design your own shawl at the end of that study group if that's what you wanted to do. So if you're already an SOS member and you're wanting to do more knitting, then you know this spring, lots of knitting things are happening. We also typically for SweetGeorgia have a make-along in the spring that is usually focused around lace as well, something to do with lace. It's springy, it's fun, it's nice. If you're not a member of the school yet, I do encourage you to check it out, schoolofsweetgeorgia.com. You can see what we're doing there. I talk every month with Vicky. We host a sort of a Zoom meeting that is a welcome meeting to new members. And I talk about this all the time, about how the school is not just courses. The school is very much two things at the same time. The school is the content and those courses and those video-based courses, but it is also community, and it's also working with other people, working alongside other people as we're doing our making, because we learn from each other, and that's the best way to do things. So that is it for today. I am going to walk around this room and tidy up a little bit between day 1 and day 2 of shooting, and just get inspired about things that I want to make, look at some of the yarn that's around here, and just enjoy my time at the studio. So thank you so much for being here today. If you like this video, please do hit the like button. And if you would like to see more content like this, please do hit subscribe. We come here every week and we talk about something to do with the fiber arts. On Wednesdays, I talk about weaving and all the things that I'm making on my looms, typically at home. We come here every week and we talk about something to do with color and craft. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.